is now 6:30, and I am calling the Elgin City Council regular meeting Tuesday, February the 21st, 2023, to order. We'll begin with Callahan.
Callahan here. Rodriguez here.
Dennis here.
McShann here.
Kasnovsky here.
Gibson here.
Swain here.
Okay, we will have a motion for Skylar Maldonado, who's out on medical leave, and Brazier, who has a family emergency.
I so move, Mayor.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, it's a tie between, he's gonna let Joy have it. Okay, it's been moved and second, and we will begin with Dennis to start.
Forrest Dennis, yeah.
You're gonna have to fix that. McShann, yes.
Kasnovsky, yes.
Gibson, yes.
Swain, yes. Oh, Callahan, yes. Rodriguez, yes.
All righty. And we will have our invocation.
Let us pray. God of peace, we invite you to preside over this meeting. Even if we have different opinions, give us unity of spirit. Help us to each listen politely as others share their points of view. Help us to work as a unified team in combining ideas for a great outcome. Help us to work as a whole rather than as individuals trying to promote their own agendas. May we have a spirit of camaraderie in this room and work together on our shared mission. Amen.
Amen. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance
to thee,
Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
We will begin with our public hearing. And it is public hearing to review performance and obtain comments regarding its 2021 Texas CDBG Program Community Development Contract, number 7220042.
Thank you, Mayor. We have, actually, there's three different items on the agenda tonight relative to certain grants and grant programs that, in my own personal opinion, aren't overly meaningful, but they are requirements by the state and feds for their program to receive various grant projects we have going on. So tonight we have Rosie from our consultant grant works here to make a little presentation on this here.
Right now, I'm talking about the project closeout, so congratulations to City Health and Elgin for closing out this project successfully. We are at the end of contract number 7220042. This project was the sidewalks and ADA compliant ramps downtown for your Main Street program. Y'all installed 1,650 linear feet of repaired sidewalks for your city, along with 12 ADA compliant ramps. We presented the information that's over at the table here, if y'all want to sign in and read over the specifics of the projects there. Right now, we'll have questions about what work was performed in your city. If you have any questions or comments, anything that I can't answer right now, we can take back and follow up with you if you have that information on the same sheet. So, are there any questions about this project that's closing out? We're submitting final paperwork to the Texas Department of Agriculture, which funded this project.
We address our council. Do y'all have any questions for her?
Thank you. Rosie, just, you might speak to the money here real quick.
Okay, can y'all hear me now? Oh, okay, sorry. So closing out this project, 7220042, installed 12 ADA ramps, 1,650 linear feet of sidewalk improvements for your community. Right now, we're taking comments or questions about the project to submit to TDA, or the Texas Department of Agriculture, who is the state funder behind, the agency funding behind this project. If there are any comments or questions that we can't answer this afternoon, you can put your name and contact information on the sign-in sheet, and then we can follow up later on if we have answers for you, or once we have answers for y'all.
I guess I just wanted to get it on the record that we received a $500,000 grant for this
Oh, yes.
project. And
So going over the budget, it was $450,000 total for construction and engineering, $50,000 for administration, so $500,000 total in grant funds, with a $75,000 commitment from the city going towards construction.
And just for council's edification, that $75,000 was part of our 21 COs. We funded that project out of there. So it's a great project. We're really pleased with it, and obviously a real financial winner for the city. Thanks, Rosie.
Thank you.
That ends our public hearing. We'll now go into public comment, and please let me remind you that you have 3 minutes to speak to the council, not directing your comments to any one person. And if you, Jennifer has her little buzzer on her phone that will go off, so you'll know that's her when you've passed your 3 minutes. And if you would please stop at that time, so I won't have to stop you. All right, for public comment, we have Grant Henning.
Good evening. Part of it relates to not those sidewalks, but the sidewalks for our building. Just to be lenient and gracious with our citizens who never had sidewalks in front of their house before, and now they have a sidewalk and maybe not know the rules for parking on sidewalks and such. So I ask the city to be lenient with them and show some grace. I want to go back to the winter storm. I want to clarify that I was not lying when people did ask for help. Tony Lorenzi, who lives on Avenue F, and his 93-year-old father did go to the rec center and ask for help. That is not a lie, and you can confront Tony Lorenzi. He's the one that told me this story. He is my neighbor, and he needed help, and so did his father. And the police officer did say that there were warming stations in Manor and in Bastrop, and that's where they could go to get warm. So that was a true statement, and I will stand by that statement because I believe Tony Lorenzi. I also stand by the statement of Amy Meyer. She is my pastor at our church right here at the Presbyterian Church, and she also told me stories of her having to go out and rescue people and drive over down power lines and down trees to do so. They needed help. People did need help during the storm. And you can tell that they needed help because y'all, the day after on Monday, declared a disaster because we all went through a disaster, a storm where citizens needed help. But y'all declared disaster so y'all could get money so the city could fund all of its cleanup. That's not right. That is not the way to treat the citizens of Elgin. We needed help, and we needed y'all to help us. I was stuck in my home with no electricity for 5 days. When I don't have electricity, it means I don't have internet, I don't have a cell phone, nothing works because it's all relying on the Wi-Fi in my house because the cell service is so horrible in this town that I can't even get cell service when there's no electricity. So the only thing I could get was a text. And every once in a while, every 15 minutes, it would take a text to leave. I could get text, and I would only get text from the city telling me an intersection is closed on 290. That didn't help me. A text from the city saying that the rec center was open as a warming station where you could get some food and some water because guess what? All of our food is trash. It was ruined in 5 days. But I didn't get those texts. I suggest we use emergency systems, the reverse 911, during emergencies, and not just tell us about road closures when you're filming a movie down on Central Avenue or you got a wreck on 290. You can use that to inform your citizens. I get those texts because that's all I get when the electricity is out, and as well as my neighbors. And my neighbor across the street with their young 3-year-old child go to the rec center on Friday and want to take a shower because they've been on their roof taking the trees off the roof that almost fell through onto their daughter's bed from the ice storm. And they were told, oh, it's $5 a person to take a shower. That's bullshit. It is. $10 for them to take a shower in the rec center.
Your time is up.
I
Thank you.
suggest y'all change your policy, and I request that from every single one of you.
Thank you for your comments. The next is Tiffany Finley.
Hello, I'm Tiffany Finley. I've been a resident here for 23 years. I'm a member of the Parks and Rec Board. I want to thank you all again for being so wonderful and supporting our parks and recreation. I wanted to talk with you guys about considering changing the voting location. I understand it's probably too late for this voting session, but for in the fall, for November, I would really love it if you guys could get it on your agenda and talk about it. Recently, well, let me say, when the voting is happening, the studio is closed down at the rec center. That means all of the classes in the rec center in the studio have to either be completely canceled or possibly moved to the gym, but oftentimes there's already things going on in the gym, so that's not possible. Recently, just last week, a lot of new classes were added. We have now 18 classes per week in the studio. That includes adult yoga, chair yoga, for those with mobility issues, children's yoga. There's dance, tai chi, step classes. I mean, it's this huge variety for all sorts of, all walks of life in Elgin to participate in at the studio. In 2023, 36 days is what is kind of slotted for voting. That means there will be 648 classes in the studio that is either going to be canceled or, if possible, moved to the gym. But that's also not a great solution. Like I said, there's volleyball, basketball, pickleball that is also scheduled in the gym. We have tried to do multiple classes in there. It's very difficult. It's hard to hear. We had someone walking past and bopping people that were trying to do yoga on the head. Not ideal. I don't think that's a great solution. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's a really important part of our community gathering and wellness. And if we can figure out a solution to that, I think that would be really great for the community. I have some ideas on that. I'm not just coming with complaints. If anyone wants to talk to me about this, or I can reach out to you guys and try to see if even the community can help you guys figure something out too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next we have is Krista Marks.
Good evening. I wear several hats. My name is Krista Marks. I wear several hats in the community. One of them actually is I teach a class that's in that studio, and we get booted regularly, and it makes my people very sad. So I'm just going to say, I like that, thank you. But now, putting on my Relay for Life hat. So I've been blessed to be the lead for Relay for Life in Elgin. I was trying to count how many years, and I think it's somewhere between 12 and 14. Since 2007, I've been the event lead for Relay for Life. We've seen lots of changes over that time, and one of the things that we were able to do last year was to host it here on the grounds of City Hall. I call it the Eagle brand version of Relay for Life. We are sweetened and condensed. It's no longer 12 hours, it is now 4 hours, Matthew. But it's a great event, and being able to have it downtown last year was tremendous. People drove by and they're like, what's going on? And we got to help spread the word, because cancer doesn't discriminate, and it impacts every single one of us, and that's the reason why we really loved having it downtown. So I put together my proposal, I did all the sharing, did all of those things, and then as I was looking at the agenda to make sure it was going to happen today, this was the time for me to be here, I was delighted, y'all, just to see how many different community activities are all a part of that consent agenda. You're looking at so many ways that you, as the council, really support the things that make Elgin, Elgin. It is those activities, it is the times that we have to come together. That is what makes us a very special place to live. So I just want to say, really thank you. Again, it's part of the consent agenda. But while I'm here, I'm going to spiel for about another minute about Relay, and just say Relay for Life, if you're not familiar with it, is a grassroots fundraiser for American Cancer Society, because we hate stupid cancer. And because we do that, we have put ourselves together to raise funds that goes directly to the American Cancer Society to make sure that we are celebrating those who have beaten this disease, that we're supporting the people who are fighting this disease, that we are honoring those that have been stolen too soon, and that we're doing something to fight back. so that cancer is not something that will steal the lives of our children and our children's children in the future. It will happen if we get approved on the consent agenda, happen here on April 22nd from 6 to 10 p.m. Prior to that, we have a survivor dinner that is free to anyone who has ever heard the words, "You have cancer," and a guest to come and be hosted by our committee. We have an appeal into HEB who has sponsored that meal for the past 8 years. We have that right over here at Straight Gate. So it is a beautiful partnership, and again, it's part of what makes Elgin Elgin, and thank you.
Thank you. That ends our public comment. We'll go to a presentation of proclamation declaring February the 26th, 2023 as Scout Day in the city of Elgin, and I have a proclamation to read. Whereas the Boy Scouts of America, BSA, is one of the largest scouting organizations and one of the largest youth organizations in the United States with about 1.2 million youth participants. And whereas the mission of the Boy Scouts of America is to train youth in responsible citizenship, character development, in a wide range of outdoor activities, educational programs, and at older age levels, career-oriented programs in partnership with community organizations. And whereas on February 8th, the Boy Scouts of America will celebrate 113 years of scouting. This date is officially known as Scouting Anniversary Date, and Scouts are asked to publicly demonstrate the 12 points of the Scout Law. A Scout is reverent. Scout Sunday, a faith-based celebration, allows Scouts to give back to their chartered organizations. Acts of giving back might include simply wearing the full field uniform to worship services, participating in services by doing a reading, singing a song, or presenting religious emblems and awards to Scouts and Scouters. Or it might be something as a grant as service project to benefit a religious organization in the community. And whereas the Scouts of Elgin, Texas in the Colorado River District, being Cub Scout Packs 182 and 471, and Troops 182, 472, and 473, will collectively participate in the Blue and Gold Banquet, the Era of Light and Crossover Ceremony, and the BSA birthday on February 26, 2023, from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Elgin VFW, located at 118 Old Sayers Road in Elgin, Texas. This event marks a historical milestone in the life of these 5 scouting programs. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Teresa McShann, Mayor of Elgin, Texas, do hereby proclaim February 26, 2023 as Scout Day in the city of Elgin, Texas, and applaud the commitment of Boy Scouts of America has made to prepare young people and to make ethical and moral choices over their lifetimes by instilling in them the values of the Scout oath and law, and encourage all citizens to support the Boy Scouts of America in Elgin, Texas, to celebrate their legacy. And I see we have several in the audience. All of y'all staying.
Take a picture. Yeah, I think all the council should come up too.
Thank you to the council. This is the first time in the history that we've had all 5 groups together celebrating.
Wow, stand up. Mayor, if I might say real quick before leave that topic, I think it's important to somebody that's kind of been around Scouts since I was a kid and seen them in other communities. I know you may be surprised I didn't make it to Eagle Scout, but I sure love Scouts. But the one crucial element to this so much is not the kids, but Scout leaders. It's important that adults are willing to step up, sacrifice their time to keep these organizations going. So I just want to say hats off to the leaders here in this community that kept this going. It's a great thing.
Okay, now we look at,
Yes.
okay, I have to apologize. I missed somebody when we were doing our public comment. Lavonna Stout? I apologize for that. I put two papers together. Didn't mean to.
Good evening. My name is Laura Stow, and I'm here with the president of the Friends of the Elgin Library, Judy Majewski, and our library director, Paula Walk. You may not be aware of it, but this month is Love Your Library Month. So I'm here to talk to you about continued support for the library and to let you know a little bit about what the Friends of the Elgin Library contribute to the library. We have about 80 members, both within the city and in the surrounding areas. First of all, many of you may remember libraries as a place that you went primarily to read books. But in the last several decades, libraries have become the educational and cultural heart of their communities. And this is certainly the case with the Elgin Library. In the last year, there were 8,600 visits to this library. People attended the travel club, author talks, English language learning classes, Dia de los Muertos celebrations, Juneteenth celebrations, and many other activities. And importantly, these varied programs respond to the diversity that's here in this community. And it's important that everyone who comes through the doors of the library can see themselves in the activities that take place in these libraries and in the book collection that we have. Second, the library is not just a debit line in the city budget. The St. David's Foundation is funding $96,000 towards library activities. And in just the past year, we, the Friends, we were awarded grants through Walmart and through the Methodist Foundation that added bilingual books, art activities, science education, and allowed us to collaborate with the local school district. Recently, the Methodist Foundation re-invited us to apply for another grant, and they awarded us $14,000. And Paula worked really hard with me on that grant. The Friends contributed more money, and this is going to enable us to replace every single computer that is publicly accessible with 12 brand new computers. And those computers will be accessible for people with visual, mobility, and hearing impairments with accessible keyboards and software. And then third, libraries really do drive economic development in the community. There's resources for new businesses, there's free Wi-Fi, there's free computer access, and every time somebody outside of Elgin comes here to the library for a program or to check out a book, they also shop here. They also eat here. And our library is attractive. Our librarians are so very welcoming, and people who are considering where to move, they note those things. They note the beauty of this building. So even though this is Love Your Library Month, we, the Friends, we love this library all year long. And so we want to encourage you to take a look at what's going on in the library. You'll find something new. Even after all these years, I still find new things. So thank you.
Appreciate that. And we do love our library.
And there's the poster that Paula has comments from members of the community about the library.
Right. that posted somewhere in the library, Laura? Okay, yeah. So if you don't get to look at it tonight, you can come back to the library and look at it later. Yeah. Thank you. Sorry I overlooked your form. Okay, now, city manager's report. Right. Okay. Oh, okay. That's the first thing you're gonna talk about. Okay, so we do have a comment for the first one, which is the Economic Development Corporation. Stephanie Lipke.
Good evening. I'm Stephanie Lipke. I noticed in the agenda that we had the EDC doing a quarterly report, and I'd never seen that before, and I was really excited to see it. I'm glad that they're doing that. I'd looked to see if I'd maybe missed some, and I didn't find some, so I'm glad we're showcasing those opportunities now. But out of those 23 bullet points on the report that's going to be talked about in a little bit, there's only one possible business opportunity. It sounds like a great business opportunity, but there's only one. The rest are revisiting and recycling. And the jobs that are being planned out there that with these new manufacturing companies, around 300 jobs, by and large, most of those jobs are not living wage jobs. So meaning people that get that job can't live here and work here unless they're like renting a 3-bedroom with somebody else. So I would encourage the EDC to seek more jobs that will allow people to live here and work here. With the nearly $20 million in infrastructure that's been poured into this area through the city, the EDC, and the TIRZ bond initiatives, we really need to start seeing a return on investment, and the EDC is over incentivizing by giving millions in land and tax rebates over the next decade. So bringing in more businesses that we're not incentivizing would be a better return on our investment. And with that being said, I don't see the value if the Emergency Services District decides to seek the ETJ and to seek more funding. The balance between what the EDC is providing the community and what the Emergency Services District would be providing the community and protecting life and property, it's going to be really hard pressed for the voters to vote to continue to subsidize the EDC for that 0.5%. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, we can go on with our managers.
Thank you, Mayor. We have, as council's well aware, last year we went through and revised our boards and commissions ordinance and made some changes in that process. And one of the things we included, the council included in that ordinance was to require quarterly reports from all boards and commissions. So we've had those come forward. We're trying not to necessarily do all those at the same meeting, but I think we did planning and zoning, and we've got others coming up. So tonight, items 1 and 2 on the manager's report are both the EDC quarterly report and the Main Street Advisory Board quarterly report that are included in your packets, and I think the Main Street report was left here at your place. So Owen and Christina are here, our Main Street manager, and Owen Rock, the EDC director, to answer any questions, but we don't particularly have a presentation beyond the reports you have in your packets. And obviously, as always, if you don't have questions tonight but have questions later, you can reach out to Owen or Christina to ask for any additional information. So there's no action required of council. We just want on the record that the reports were made in conformity with the new ordinance requirements.
Do any of the council members have any questions?
Can you remind me of the timeline for the aviator project?
We sold the land, we closed on the contract. So they have, I believe it's 6 to 8 months to get their design and all that ready to go, and then they've got 18 months for construction. So you got about 2 years, which is pretty typical.
Their plan is, that's an outside number, though. Their plan is
Oh,
to
yeah,
move,
yeah, they'll.
try to move much quicker
They'll
than
get
that.
it done as quick as possible. I mean, private sector just, they want to start making ASAP, so they'll move it forward. But we just give them plenty of time to do the projects that they need to do.
Okay, well, like I said, if there's any follow-up questions, feel free to contact the staff directly.
Thank you.
I didn't really have anything else on my report, Mayor, just wanted to mention a couple things. Our response to the storm debris continues to move forward with great success, consistent with what we had shared with council at our last meeting, what our plan was. We continue to see a lot of cooperation and support from our citizens as to this response. We, as we had predicted pretty much today, we're close to getting all city property, the parks, and all city property cleaned up. And so we'll begin going through the neighborhoods now fairly soon to start picking up brush as we can. We also excitedly await delivery on our new wood chipper. The guys are really excited to get behind that, and hopefully that'll be here in the next 2 weeks. And once that happens, we've also assembled other equipment. We think the debris collection can go really quick after we get our wood chipper here. So as we said, we continue to need people to be patient and work with us, and all indications are they're doing that. I think one thing I could say that the Mayor and I certainly heard from the county judge and our county commissioner as time has gone by. I've heard from many people that I think Elgin may have gotten the worst part of this storm, or at least the highest amount of debris. Certainly the Bastrop County judge and our county commissioner said that it wasn't until they came to Elgin that they saw the amount of debris we had was significantly higher than most. So it is something we're, in this case, although everybody experienced some debris challenges, Elgin may have gotten it the worst this way, but we're going to get it done and feel real good about the progress we continue to make.
Tom, can you remind us what's happening with the wood chips? I have some inquiring neighbors.
Well, not sure yet. As we, as we've done, we continue to, almost daily still think about better ways to do things and how we can. We are collecting some debris now, but I would say our plan, my plan and the staff's is to hopefully, in the end, be able to create a big pile of wood chips that we can make available for people to come and use. And I can't remember if I shared this, but actually when I was in up north, that was a standard approach we used, and where the city truly engaged in actual recycling. We picked up branches in the fall, we chipped them up, people came back in the spring and picked it up and used it as ground cover. So we're hopeful we're going to do that. Part of our plan of, one of the things we frankly stayed away from was having waste management come and use dumpsters or roll-offs that would just end up all that brush in the landfill. So that's another part of being patient. We think if people can be patient, we can actually turn this debris into something maybe we all can use. But we don't have a plan to dispose of those chips, so yeah, it would be contingent upon people coming and getting it. So, but we think, again, I've seen that before and it works really well. So hopefully we can play it out that way.
I think there's interest.
Yep, I think so too. I just wanted to mention just one item of clarity came up tonight, public comments, and was raised by Councilmember Kozanowski at our last meeting on the polling location. We definitely plan to have that discussion, but it is too late to move the poll for the May election. So the plan would be to have that election come and go, but then immediately after that election, we'll engage in that conversation. I'll just say it's a complicated issue that has to include the county election offices from both Travis County and Bastrop. So So it definitely will take an effort on our part, but we're ready to have that conversation. It won't affect this upcoming election. And one thing I just wanted to mention to council along the same kind of timeline that Councilmember, Mayor Pro Tem Brazier and I had discussed earlier this week, but she wasn't here tonight. But if you recall, last year she had raised the issue about property tax relief for senior citizens, for the council to consider either talking about a tax freeze or some kind of relief that we could control here in Elgin. But when we began that discussion, we'd already passed the time frame that enabled us to do anything for the 23 year. But we have until, based on what the property tax assessor told us, we have until June to make that, to make any decisions or changes we want to make about the 24 tax year. So that too is another item that we haven't forgot about, and that we'll be bringing up soon, so we can get that considered by council in a timely manner if we're going to do something for next year. With that, that's all I had, Mayor. Anybody have questions?
I have a question
Sure.
about that. The legislature has come out and said they're going to do something with property taxes. Now, what they're going to do, I don't know. I'm assuming y'all are going to take that input into whatever decisions that you're going to float the city council about property taxes. That's concerning to me. We have two entities working potentially in opposite directions. Again, I don't know what happens going to do.
Yeah, and I think in our case, the initial analysis showed that if you're talking about seniors over 65, that's a relatively small group. And so we felt the initial analysis said, you know, we could probably take that hit with that small group with either a freeze or a higher exemption. So I don't think the legislature is going to do anything. They're going to solve school funding and give tax relief at the same time.
They must know.
That's
Apparently they know everything.
simply not possible. But it is a good point and we'll get into that. Once again, it's an issue that brought up, seems simple, seems obvious that we'd all agree on, but we definitely have to think through all the ramifications of that. And you know, all due respect to our school folks, I think anybody's on council, while you can work really hard on the council or county or the way Texas's system is to lower your tax rate, but if another entity raises theirs, that really gives no relief to the taxpayer. So that has to be factored in too. I thought the story in Elgin when I first got here is they lowered the tax rate one year and nobody noticed, so they tried to lower it again the next year. But that is part of the system here too. Because I think, as we know, when people talk about their taxes, they talk about the bill they're paying. They don't really want to talk about is the county's tax rate too high or the cities or the ESDs. They just want their bill lowered. And that's a real challenge for all of us to truly impact their bill in a way that makes a difference. So again, I think you recall the conversation we had. I think all the councils expressed their support for the concept. What the ramifications will be, what it can really mean to the taxpayer, and all that is the part we've got to get into.
Any other questions, comments? Nope. Okay, so we're going to go into our consent agenda. We have the city council meeting notes. We have to consider closing the streets for Juneteenth festival and waive the open container ordinance for Juneteenth festival, waive the fees for Juneteenth street
Mayor, do you want
payments.
to read all those?
Well,
I
I'm
can
just
just
gonna,
tell.
oh, okay, well, look at all of them. I was,
Basically, we, as a few years ago, we used to have the proponents or the organizers of the events come and we'd talk about each event. So once council made a commitment to support these core events that I think was mentioned in public comments tonight, Amy, the last 2 or 3 years, has just assembled the information all together. So It's basically one vote tonight where we agree to waive fees for what we consider our core events, Western Days, Juneteenth, the Veterans Appreciation Day Parade, the Relay for Life. These are all traditional programs that we do. So this is one sweeping action but Amy and the staff have met with each organizer, the dates, the streets they want closed, all that is clearly defined, but just basically an opportunity for council to provide all those approvals at once. Now, one thing I would say under the consent agenda, item 14 is highlighted here on the screen. I would ask that be pulled out because we do need to have a little more discussion on that item relative to the grants associated with that than we can do under consent. So we obviously recommend approval of consent agenda with the one exception of 14, and we'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay, do I have a motion to pull 14 and anything else?
I'm good on that. Pull 14.
Okay,
No, second.
okay. It's been moved and second that we approve the consent agenda with the exception of number 14, which we have pulled. And we'll begin with Swain.
Swain, yes.
Elgin, yes. Rodriguez, yes.
Dennis, yes.
McShane, yes.
Tesnowski, yes.
Gibson, yes.
Okay. Motion carries. And we'll talk about 14.
Okay. So Mayor, this item again is the second item I mentioned earlier where we're authorizing, it's a routine authorization of a contract for our city-wide SCADA system improvement project. This is actually an item that we discussed at our last council meeting, but procedurally weren't satisfied with what we did and couldn't exactly, didn't have a good presentation. But basically, this grant that we received for $325,000, I think. Is that right, Bo? Or are we going to talk about it later? 330. Okay. It is actually a very progressive step for the city. SCADA is a term used that means supervisor control and data acquisition. It's basically a term for computerizing your systems. SCADA systems for water supply are fairly common, and Elgin has had that system growing in place for quite a while, and basically, I'm sure some of you are old enough to remember that there was actually like a bobber in the water tank with a string that came out and told you how full the water tank was back in the old days. But now it's all electronic and computerized, and so this system actually, our water system is connected to every water tank we have, and then we have one home location where the staff can sit at the water plant and monitor water levels in every water tank. This system that we'll be putting in with this contract will actually do the same for our wastewater and our wastewater pump stations. And it's another thing where if anybody's lived near a wastewater pump station and heard the alarm go off or seen wastewater come pumping out of the ground, that this system will help us. Typically, we've had to just drive around and observe them in person to make sure they're operational. So this system will create another opportunity for us to monitor both water and wastewater from one location and to, in a real proactive way, keep up with any problem areas and get to them before problems are created. So we received this grant for this purpose. So as far as an action item, the resolution, all we need to do is vote to approve the resolution as presented, but for some reason that remains a little confusing to me, we still need to say I need to read these words into the record, that the City of Elgin is considering action to award a contract to the low bidder to install the SCADA packages to 11 lift stations and the existing wastewater treatment plant. This contract award supports grant number CDV 21-0026. The low bidder was General Control Systems. The total contract amount is $597,019. This is comprised of $261,750 of grant funds and $335,269 of local funds. So I had that flipped a little bit. We got the $260,000 will be able to use impact fees for the overage on this case. So the only action we really need from council is to approve a resolution. I'd be glad to try to answer any questions if you have them.
I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance as written.
Okay.
I'll
Motion.
second.
Now seconds. And we'll begin with Kavanagh.
Kaznowski, yes.
Gibson, yes.
Flake, yes.
Diane, yes. Rodriguez, yes.
Dennis, yes.
McShane, yes. Okay.
Very far apart on this.
What's that?
Said I noticed our bids were very far apart on this. Almost 900,000.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about some other bids in a minute too, so.
All right, let's move on to new business. The resolution of the City of Elgin, Texas, authorizing the city manager to execute the prime agreement with Baird Williams Construction to perform as construction manager at risk for the design and construction of the new City of Elgin Police Department's station, and making certain findings related to thereto.
Go ahead and read number 2.
Okay, and number 2, a resolution of the City of Elgin, Texas, authorizing the city manager to execute contract amendment with Baird Williams Construction for bid package 1, guaranteed maximum price for the new City of the Elgin Police Department station, and making certain findings related thereto.
Thank you, Mayor. These 2 items are both connected to moving forward with our police station project that we're excited to say tonight with council's authorization. We are literally ready to move forward and put a shovel in the ground. As you recall, I think you know from the process we've been through that we've spent most of the last year designing this project and bidding it out. We've had a variety of challenges in that regard, but I feel good about where we're at today. We've had this project, I think these changes, there's some slight changes between the prior drawing and this one based on the Historical Review Board's review. But we have everybody on board in the city about what we're building, and particularly the police department is very excited about this project, and we're all ready to get it moving forward. So the 2 action items tonight, the first item is basically formal approval of the framework agreement for a construction manager at risk project. It really doesn't have any impactful cost. It's basically a procedural step where we need to authorize the first 2 documents before we can get to our guaranteed maximum price and our number. As you recall, I think from our last update on this project, because we were having challenges with getting firm prices from bidders, we're facing the same challenge as the school is and anybody else trying to do a building project right now of getting contractors to make firm and binding commitments on both price and timing. So our team came back and suggested that instead of one big package, that we'd split this up into 2 bid packages to try and move the project forward, while at the same time we continue to massage the projects to help costs. So this action tonight, which is the second resolution, number 2 on the agenda, is a specific authorization to move forward with bid package 1, which is essentially earthwork and structural aspects of the project. It is proposed for approval at a guaranteed maximum price of just over $1.6 million. Bid package 2 is the remainder part of the project that we continue to work on. As I said, we are continuing to experience challenges like everybody else has as far as project costs. You know that the council, our team has made a commitment from the beginning that we were going to hit our number on this project, and we're still committed to doing that. But we're going to have to engage in some valued engineering between now that could affect and reduce our costs, bid package 1. through an amendment later, but certainly get the bid package 2 number down to where we want it to be. So, so basically, we feel confident in saying tonight that as far as bid package 1 goes, the 1.6 million number that's in the contract is the maximum number. We're hopeful that through some valued engineering ideas the team has, we may ultimately be coming back here in a couple weeks with an amendment that will actually reduce that number. And also during that time, we'll be processing bid package 2, which we are scheduled to bring back on March 21st. But we'll continue to work this project, and we feel good about getting started on it. And so with council's approval tonight, you'll actually see some activity start next week on site. And we had just kind of plugged in as a placeholder of February 28th, a week from today, as a groundbreaking ceremony, but there's nothing magical about that date for us. We obviously want to make sure we can hit a date when everybody can be available. So unless you want to stipulate that tonight, my plan would be to have Jennifer reach out to all of you in the next few days and make sure we can, what date and time works best for everybody, and we'll get that nailed down. That won't change the construction plan. It'll give us a look. If we push it back, we can get a couple more days to get the helmets and shovels together for the package. So hard hats, excuse me, not helmets. But we continue to work from on the outside. We think these are the main numbers for the project. We're like any project, I think we're probably going to come down to the final decision-making is should we put more money into the project to get something better, or is it our number one goal to hit the project number? And I think probably by the end, council will be involved in that specific decision. But we've got some more work to do, or the team does, before we're ready to bring any of those issues forward to City Council. And then, as a reminder too, we already have the funding for this project literally in the bank, $3.5 million committed from the 2001 ACOs, and $1.5 million from ARPA funds that we've received. So we're anxious and ready to move forward. For the record, I would just say that a typical CMAR project, that I'd say typical before COVID, the concept was that you would have a total guaranteed maximum price for the entire project to authorize from the beginning before construction started. We've talked about this a lot as a team, and right now the business has just changed that way. So we can get to that number if it was council's preference to see the whole number before we start, but that's going to be another 4 to 6 weeks. We push the project back. I feel like, frankly, that might be more important if we were still deciding whether or not we were going to do the project. And I assume that question's not really in play. We're going to build a new station. We're going to build it at that location. So it's just going to come down to how much can our team whittle off this number to hit our budget number without compromising the project, and how much more conversation we need to have council about it. But we just got to take a few more steps on the planning end before we get there. So I'd be glad to try to answer any questions or clarify anything I said. Well, and I would say too, I just say for the record too, our building committee all the way through, in my experience, I don't know if it's rare, but do a project this significant, that's this impactful. We're talking about building the first police station ever in this 150-year history of the city of Elgin. It's only normal you'd have some debate or disagreement about what should be built. We just haven't seen that at all. And the fact that all the cops agree is amazing, that we even got them on board with it. But we've gotten some great input from them, and so we feel really confident about everybody being on the same page. And we're conscious of these costs, but I wish I could tell you tonight we're sure what the end number is going to be, but I also wouldn't recommend we move it forward right now if I was concerned that was going to be a crazy number that we couldn't afford. And y'all know Bob Galloway's been here enough, and Jaime from FGMA, and Dirk from BWC, our contractors here. They'll be glad to expand or answer any detailed questions if you have them.
Do any one of you have anything you want to add to, no, you're just ready to shovel?
I'd just like to say, I like the looks of the new design, the color bricks and the windows on the front and all, and I appreciate you working with the historical group to come to a solution there. It looks good. I like it.
Yeah, and I think, I just want to say real quick, Bob, help me if or Amy, if she's here, that Bob actually had a big sheet of brick samples from Elgin Brick that the team went through, the HRB looked at. You know, most of them look the same to me, but to them, they look dramatically different. Even went outside and stood in the sun and saw how they looked. So there was a lot of very conscious effort that went into this. Part of the team work too to get that number on the brick. Now, what's in the project now is just the front and around the corner to the left, right? The back will not be brick, but obviously it's just facing the parking lot. But again, that's an example of a cost savings measure that won't compromise the look of the project, but it's a significant savings over what we'd have to spend to brick the whole building.
So we're looking for approval this evening on the 1.6.
Yeah, if you need to adopt both resolutions. One's authorizing the basic form of the contract, and item 2 is to specifically authorize the city manager to execute the agreement moving forward on bid package 1. But those should be two separate votes.
Before we start, since we're gonna eat up their parking lot, Commander Cram gonna be happy with a temporary parking lot, break ground?
Yeah, I think that's, you know, it's a good question, because we started out thinking, frankly, the police station was way ahead of Veterans Park, and then Amy discovered this $300 grand from St. David, so it dramatically moved that project up. So, and Veterans Park, frankly, construction-wise, will move a lot quicker. So part of why we've blocked off that street now is to get used to, yeah, it's going to be a little parking challenge, and there's going to be so much activity going on both sides of that street. They'll basically be parking in the street, but we're satisfied that they've got that covered. And Commander Krim, who's here tonight, I wanted to mention that Commander's back on limited duty. We're glad to see him back. He got in a little scrape and spent some time at home and is chomping at the bit to get back at work. So he's here tonight. But the commander was part of the building committee, and I'm sure he'd be glad to answer any questions you have of him from the department's perspective.
I'm just curious about the potential overage. Is my assumption is we're just seeing that with inflation and the building industry.
That's basically it. I mean, I don't want to speak for the gentleman, but, you know, we've talked about, I think we felt like we were being fairly conservative, and yet we're still surprised at some of the numbers we saw. Is that fair to say, Derek? So it's just hard to predict right now. But we got Bo on the job too, so he's gonna figure out how to save the money we need.
Okay, do I have a motion for the first one? We need to do two separate votes, so for the first resolution. Okay, Chuck? We have a, okay, Rodriguez, second. All right, we'll begin with Swain.
Swain, yes.
Callahan, yes. Rodriguez, yes.
Dennis, yes?
McShane, yes.
Kaznowski, yes.
Gibson, yes.
All right, that motion carries. And then we need a motion for number two.
I'll make that motion,
Okay,
that we approve that.
and do I have a second? Swain seconds. All right. Been moved in second, and we'll begin with Dennis.
Dennis, yes?
McShane, yes.
Kaznowski, yes.
Gibson, yes.
Swain, yes.
Callahan, yes. Rodriguez, yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, number three. Resolution of the City of Elgin authorizing city manager to execute an agreement
to
with
work.
Roy D. Rivers III for installation and donation of, okay, what is geography?
I couldn't
It's
pronounce
probably
it.
supposed to be giraffe.
No,
Is this
it's
supposed to be
Gigaf.
giraffe? Gigaf?
No,
That
that's
sounds like something I wasn't
the
supposed
name.
to say.
Yeah.
Gigaf.
Okay,
Amy,
Gigaf sculpture.
Amy knows how to say it.
Amy, come say that for us. Structure in Morris Memorial Park and making certain findings there too.
We talked about this a bit at the last meeting. This is just a formality of accepting a donation, and actually have a little picture of what we anticipate it look like. So Amy, how do you say that?
Well, so your tongue twister is that it's a gig aff, and it's named by a child.
Okay.
So be young at heart when you talk about the new art at Morris Memorial Park. The artist is Jeffrey Jeffries. He is in Nacogdoches, and the Trace and Sherry Rivers family are donating the sculpture to the city's park system. So you heard about it at your last meeting. This is your official authorization for the city manager to sign the contract, and the art would be installed. Ideally, it looks like we're going to have it done before spring break.
Amy, I just want to talk about one thing that you and I have talked about a lot. This donation is consistent with our adopted policy for public art, correct?
Yes, so the gift was reviewed initially by the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, the question of where it would be placed, all those location issues, all of that was discussed at the Parks and Rec Board level. Their recommendation was to accept the art for this location. The artist is involved in that decision as well, so that it's placed to maximize the artistic side of it. But on our part, this location works for us from a maintenance perspective. You know, we still have to mow the parks and manage things around beautiful gifts like this. So yes, we've gone through our steps to look at those more logistical considerations.
But all of that took place about the initial location.
Yes.
We found out a couple years ago that some folks had a different definition of donation than I did when it came to our benches downtown, that family members seemed to think they exercised control forever about exactly where benches were and where they weren't. So we've made an important distinction that part of these donations, we welcome them, we're glad to get them, but once they become city property, we get to make the decision about if they get
Right.
moved, how they get maintained, all those things. So.
Yes. Yeah, it's a gift to the city for the city to manage and maintain moving forward.
That's a good thing. We recommend it. Everybody's excited about it.
I can't wait to play with it.
Safety-wise, it's been addressed, right, with the concrete pad, you kids climbing over.
I would imagine that there'll be children who want to climb on it. One of the joys of public art, as Jeffrey Biggers said with Stem and Thorn for the Black Icons mural downtown, public art brings art to the community, to the individuals. It makes it accessible to everyone. And so this sculpture won't be treated like one in a museum that you're not allowed to touch. We would certainly ask folks to be responsible in terms of, how they admire it. It's not a very large platform on the artist's recommendation. It's a platform big enough for the sculpture itself. It's not a large platform that invites you to, sprawl on top of it. So we'll look forward to everybody having good manners and still having a good time.
And for the record on that, this park is exactly where we're going to be completely putting in a whole new playground apparatus. So hopefully kids will be involved with that and not worry about climbing on this.
Alrighty, so, gigant sculpture? I love saying it now, gigant. Okay. We have a motion for, to approve.
I make a motion.
Okay, go ahead. And second?
I'll second.
Okay. So we'll begin with Callahan.
Callahan, yes. Rodriguez, yes.
Dennis, yes?
McShane, yes?
Kaznowski, yes.
Gibson, yes.
Swain, yes.
Motion carries. Okay, the next thing is presentation of TDA form A1024 CDBG Section 3 Program Goals for the text CDBG project CDV 210026.
Thank you, Mayor. This is our third procedural item we're going to go through. I forgot to mention to you earlier, you just need to tell me how to advance the slide. So you may recall we saw this last time, but we were satisfied in the end that we didn't, we just need to redo it for the record. Go ahead,
Yes.
Allison.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Allison Land. I'm a project manager with GrantWorks, and this is a procedural matter, as your city manager informed you. We are officially on the agenda tonight. Today, we are going to represent the information on policy guidance regarding Section 3 as issued by the Texas Department of Agriculture, or TDA. The city received the grant CDV 210026 in the amount of $350,000 for the system-wide SCADA installation. That's the project that you just awarded the contract for. And that grant is subject to the Section 3 policy. TDA grants are funded through the CDBG, or Community Development Block Grant Program, via the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, and TDA. Under this policy, the City of Elgin must implement appropriate changes to contracts, policies, and procedures to maintain compliance with the Section 3 Act of 1968. Essentially, this is informing and facilitating access for low to moderate income residents and individuals in close proximity to the project area, providing opportunities for employment that are either generated by or indirectly benefiting from association with those grant funds. All right. This means ensuring that Section 3 businesses have the information to be able to submit a bid or proposal for the project, and that Section 3 workers have access to information about available job opportunities. For precise definitions on some of these terms, you can refer to the Texas CDBG Policy Issuance 20-1. A company may also qualify as a Section 3 business, and to do that, it would need to be owned by low-income persons, be owned by Section 8 assisted housing residents, or if 75% of all labor hours for the business in a 3-month period are performed by Section 3 workers. Your business may register as a Section 3 business on the HUD portal listed there. There's also a form that you can fill out and submit to the Texas Department of Agriculture. All right, this project is expected to include the following contracting opportunities. All 3 of these have now been awarded, but the contractor does also have the opportunity, if they need to hire additional workers to complete the project, they will need to comply with some Section 3 requirements as well. So we've referenced a Section 3 worker. You may be a Section 3 worker if your annual income is below the county threshold for your family size. That is dependent it varies for every county as a percentage of the area median family income and the number of people in the household. or if you are a current or recent youth build participant, which I don't believe Bastrop County has had any of those projects lately. You can register your information and search for job opportunities at Work in Texas, as well as head Section 3 Opportunity Portal. Section 3 workers that reside near the project location may also qualify as a targeted Section 3 worker. And essentially, that just means you are located within a census block group within a close proximity to the project area. And there's a method that we use per TDA's guidance to determine where those are and hit the right number of people. But essentially, for this project, we are in the immediate vicinity surrounding that. The project will track all hours worked on the project based on 3 categories of workers. That includes all workers, all Section 3 workers, and the targeted Section 3 workers that live within that geographic area on the map shown on the previous slide. Grant recipients are required to track these hours, which requires income documentation and reporting. In practice, your contractors are monitoring that. You also have more information available to you on these 2 websites. We can provide you links. If you need live links, they're also in the presentation, which obviously the city has a copy of. And you can always reach out to your grant team with additional questions, and we can answer those as well. I thank you for your time.
So Allison, again, no action required.
No action is required.
This isn't a hearing
That was
item. It's
purely
just your
informational.
report. Okay, thank you.
Any announcements? We don't go into executive session. We don't have anything. You have any announcements?
Everybody's looking at you. She had a birthday.
Yeah, she had a birthday. Tell Amy happy birthday. And Jennifer had a birthday.
February is a popular month for birthdays. So the community does have a lot of great things going on related to Black History Month for a couple more weeks. And so on Saturday, there's a Black History program at Mount Moriah that's also a fundraiser for the MLK scholarship for Elgin students. And that's going to include a commemorative T-shirt of the Black Icons mural. So if you want to come out on Saturday, you can support the scholarship with your time and buy a T-shirt and get to support the new downtown Elgin Black Icons mural too. I know we have a lot of great things happening in town, so I'd encourage you guys to keep on your social media channels and check out the city's website so that you can have all the latest and greatest information. And thanks for everybody's patience as we get the limbs cleared out of the way.
We do have, for Black History Month, we are like now, they're probably still going on. At Mount Moriah, they're actually doing Health Week. So there will be all financial health, your actual wellness, the whole bit. They have speakers. So tonight, tomorrow, and next day, they'll be there. Beginning at 6, I think. 6:30? Okay, thank you. Beginning at 6:30. So if you don't have anything else to do, there's a lot of nice speakers coming up.
Mayor, can I jump back to manager's report real quick? This is an announcement. I just remembered something. I wanted to let council know that if you recall the last meeting, we gave a report and expressed some concerns about conversation going on with our local emergency services district about placing an item on the agenda relative that would be really damaging to the city operations and the city budget, not just the EDC. Since that meeting, Liston Krim, who's actually a board member of the ESD and a new board member, had asked to come to meet with me. And we met, and they told me at that time that they have some new board members, and they didn't know the history of this issue, and certainly did not want to create an adverse environment with the city. And so the board had made the decision to delay any decision about placing this item on the ballot, certainly not in May, and maybe not till November. And they agreed that the city and the ESD should get together, talk about potential compromise, talk about a working agreement that can work with both of us. They agreed to go back to their board and propose that idea. I told them that I thought we'd be very much interested in that, and that we'd probably have council members actually would want to be involved in that conversation. And of course, we want EDC board members involved too. So I just wanted to report to you, I had a very positive meeting with them, those board members, and the fire chief, and they're very much interested in that not turning into an adverse situation and working together with the city. So hopefully we'll continue to see some progress in that regard. I'll keep you updated.
It is 8:40, hold on, 7:46, and we are adjourned.